We are a river city, a bold city, the First Coast, a place to create and to belong. Here, the sun shines a little brighter, and so do the people. We share a love for our region, a pride for JAX, and a passion for the beautiful game, dedicated to giving everyone a sporting chance. Together, we will elevate soccer and sport in our community by lifting every voice. We are Sporting Club Jacksonville. We are Sporting JAX.
Hello and welcome into the Sporting JAX Report. I'm Cole Pepper. Coming up, we hear from one of the state high school players of the year from our area. Plus, Becky Burleigh takes a look at two local products who played key roles with the U.S. women's national team this past week. But let's start with the major momentum for Sporting JAX and the USL. Already in 2025, we've seen some major milestones in the league and with the club. In the past 2 months, there have been major moves and key signings. Here's a closer look at how the year has begun.
We're going to begin with some massive news in American soccer. The USL is planning to launch a first division league.
How long has USL been thinking about this League One status?
Things started about 3 years ago, right, when we were looking at things that could differentiate the league. And there were three main components that came out, right? One being changing the calendar, two was promotion relegation, and three was doing a Division I league.
Promotion relegation coming to the U.S.?
How do you implement it? How long does it take?
Pro-rel would absolutely be it.
It's time for us to be bold and ambitious and make a move.
Okay, promotion relegation. We've opened Pandora's box.
And this week, the hits keep on coming. Sporting JAX, another major announcement on Wednesday, naming Steve Fell as the head of performance. Fell has an impressive resume, and amazingly, having worked in the MLS and USL ecosystems and spent the past 6.5 years with U.S. Soccer, including the past 3 as a performance coach for the men's national team. Best of all, he lives right here on the First Coast. So why would someone with that kind of resume say yes to Sporting JAX? Easy.
It's an unbelievable project, and for the longest time I have felt that the Jacksonville area is just primed for the USL in particular, just having worked in the USL and seeing how much the game has grown over the course of this 10-year period. So to see it finally come to fruition and at the size that it's coming to fruition is really exciting. So for me, it was really it was a no-brainer to be not only someone who is local to the area over the past 15 years that we consider it to be home. So just to be able to do it in an area where you're familiar with people, you know, from not only soccer folks, but just, you know, friends that you've made over the years is an unbelievable opportunity. So myself and my family look at it as just an incredible opportunity to be a part of an amazing project that's really trying to do it at the highest level. Fortunately, I'll be able to do that and play a role with the national team. Fortunately, we have a really robust staff on the national team, so it's no different really to what I do day to day already, except I'm in football 24/7, which I think when you talk about what's the difference between national team versus club, all the national team members are going to say it's not enough football at the national team level. Even though you're in it for a very intensive period of time, it's not daily. And I feel really, really fortunate that I can not only participate with the national team, but more importantly, be a part of football on a daily basis. First and foremost, I think it's incredible, and I think I think it's a model for what all clubs are going to trend towards, to have one umbrella, that being Sporting Club JAX, with a women and a men's representation at the professional academy and youth levels is outstanding. And you know, for me, nothing is different between the two, other than it's just more it's more people to try to influence as far as when you're putting in best practices when it comes to performance medical and sports science initiatives. You know, and speaking with the sporting director, you know, Mark, and also Steve Livingston, we all agree it's all about the people that you bring in, and we just look at it as an unbelievable opportunity to have a place where people who want to be a part of something really special, very professional, but also help develop the young practitioners that are really interested in the field with regards to professional football.
Yeah, absolutely. Things happen for a reason in football. But it's I met Steve over a year ago. Initially, I just had a visit through here, and great chatting to him and his contacts. But it's more about the drive and his desire to take a home club forward, which was so impressive. We needed to add quality in the key positions, and we spoke about adding people who could give value above and beyond the job spec. And Steve certainly falls into that category. Someone with his CV, his background, his knowledge, experience, but his drive and enthusiasm is key for us.
All right, here's a little bit more on Steve Fell's background. We mentioned his current role with U.S. Soccer. He's also been a winner wherever he's worked, with Phoenix Rising as the Director of Sports Performance. The team won the USL Championship Players Shield in 2019. Before that, with the Houston Dynamo, the team opened up and won the U.S. Open Cup and were conference finalists in MLS. He's an industry expert, a winner, and now he's a part of the Club of Sporting JAX as the head of performance. We now welcome in Mauricio Ruiz. Mal, landing Steve Fell is a major get for Sporting JAX.
Yeah, Cole, I think that's probably the biggest steal that we could have landed, and I say that not because there's not other really qualified people that we're bringing to the equation, but from a player recruitment standpoint, you know, you're always going to have, you know, your sporting director, you're going to have your head coach. But one thing that is a miss in a lot of sports organizations, not just soccer, but specifically in soccer, it's that sports performance department. And that's the department that players look to. And so they're going to ask the questions when we are doing player recruitment, when we're offering players and trying to attract players into our environment. They're going to ask about some of the resources that we have, facilities and housing and things like that. And that's fair. But a question that 10 out of 10 of them will ask, what does our sports performance department look like? Why? Because they want to know how they can get better physically, and they want to know how long, if they get into an injury situation, which inevitably a player will go through, what does the department look like? How do I get back from injury? How do I prevent getting injury? And someone like Steve Fell, with his experience, not just from a soccer standpoint, but also in his physical medical standpoint, he connects the two worlds really well. So it's a rare person that has both of those fields and it can live in both worlds. And the fact that he's in our backyard and the fact that we can have him from the start of our organization, it's a massive steal.
All right, let's turn our attention now to our USL Championship game of the week, and it's a matchup between San Antonio, who came in undefeated and untied, and Phoenix Rising, who were in search of the first win of the season. This was one nationally televised game on CBS. To San Antonio we go. And you would think this would probably be basically a walk in the park for an undefeated, untied team, but not so. After a scoreless first half, the home team with a free kick in the 53rd minute. Great opportunity here from a dangerous position for San Antonio. They go short with a free kick. Jimmy Madrana blasted. It's saved but not cleared out. Big chance there for San Antonio, but nothing comes of it. Still 0-0. Fans can't believe it. Then, after a scoreless first half, we saw just minutes later handball called. Remy Cabral was taking the shot, so only right that he takes the penalty. He puts it away, and Phoenix Rising leads on the road 1-0. It's the first time all year they have led in a game. Then, turnabout fair play. Jake LaCava going for a ball in the box, wiped out by Phoenix keeper Tristan Henry. It's a penalty. LaCava in no shape to take it for San Antonio. Jorge Hernandez in perfect shape and in perfect position, puts it away. It's 1-1. Just 2 minutes later, the game's starting to open up a little bit. Phoenix on a counter. Isan Sacco on the run out, and Gerald Margarita serves this one up. Cheers. Oh, look at that angle. 2-1 from a very tough spot, and Phoenix is on top. Later, desperation time for San Antonio as they try to keep the perfect season alive for one more week. Deep in the stoppage time, Luis Paredes, a shot from distance, but it is easily covered by Henry. That's the way it ends. Phoenix beats San Antonio. Mauricio, this really shows just how narrow the margins are in the USL Championship.
Well, they're tight in the USL Championship, but they're tight in soccer in generally. I mean, you just saw this past weekend as well. You know, Liverpool dropped 3-1 to Fulham. And San Antonio, they're going to go back in this video and they're going to kick themselves on the backside a little bit because they had the game in control. They're at home, undefeated, a beautiful day in Toyota Park, and they just let Phoenix kind of come back. Phoenix is not a team that's rolling by any means, shape, or form, and San Antonio just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net in this game, and that's where they've been really, really good this year. And they were just wide open. I mean, there was PKs on both sides, and San Antonio just could not close the deal, even though they controlled the majority of the game.
Here's a look at the standings. It is still early, but Loudoun United on top right now in the East. That's been one of the surprise stories of the early portion of the season, with Lou City and North Carolina right behind. Looking at the Western Conference, San Antonio remains on top despite the loss, with Monterey Bay, New Mexico United, and Tulsa hot on their heels. Remember, the top 8 teams from the East and the West will make the postseason, but that won't come along until the fall. All right, now, Mauricio, back to you. Let's talk about Loudoun United. We mentioned them there on top of the table. Really remarkable what they've done. It really seems they've established and discovered their identity this year.
They really have, Cole, and I think it's interesting to look at Loudoun United for the last 3 years as they've kind of separated and departed from what used to be their parent club in DC United. Remember when MLS teams had their second team play in the USL Championship only about 3-4 years back, Loudoun United was basically a farm team to DC United, and they decided that they no longer wanted to be that. They felt like their community needed to own their own brand, their colors, and identity. So they separated from DC United. It's been a progression over time. And last year was the first year of a full separation. And we saw growth last year already in identity and how they were going about business. But they still had a couple players kind of grandfathered into contracts. This year is the first year that Coach Ryan Martin really had the opportunity to build his own squad. And it's showing. And they've stuck with Ryan Martin through the thick and thin. And he's a great coach. And they're off to a great start, best start in the league. You know, in the East, certainly kind of competing with San Antonio in the West that we just touched on. But Loudoun United, they're one of the many teams that we should look at and how do they model an identity of a club and how they kind of come about. And you almost can look at Loudoun United as a new club in the USL Championship landscape because effectively that's what they are. They've had a lot of, starting points, but it's impressive what they've done. They have a beautiful community there in Loudoun County, and they've stuck to a coach, and now they're starting to show the fruit of all the work and labor that they've put in the last several years.
And we're looking forward to what happens on the field starting in August when the season kicks off for the USL Sporting JAX, the USL Super League team. Season tickets on sale now for the inaugural season. They'll kick off at Hodges Stadium on the UNF campus. Tickets start as low as $10 per game for students and go up to the field seats and premium hospitality. Join the movement and be a part of the first professional women's team in Jacksonville. Go to sportingjax.com or call 904-863-KICK for more information. And now you can spread your payments out over the next several months when you purchase season tickets for the USL Super League season. You can make easy monthly payments through the start of the season with no interest, and you can still get all the benefits of season ticket membership starting at your first installment. sportingjax.com or 904-863-KICK. Still to come, Becky Burleigh joins us for her perspective on the U.S. women's national team performance against Brazil. That's straight ahead as the Sporting JAX report rolls on. You can catch every USL Super League game streaming on Peacock. All 8 teams in action tonight. You can catch all 4 games streaming live on Peacock. Let's go to some Super League highlights from the past week. Let's start with Tampa Bay in action against Fort Lauderdale. This one scoreless until the 31st minute when Jordan Listro gets on the end of one for Tampa Bay Sun. to make it a 1-0 game later. Night has fallen. The sun may be down, but the sun going forward. Ava Tankersley puts it away, 2-0. Tampa Bay beats Fort Lauderdale in the Florida Derby. First time either team has won. They've all been draws up to this point. Tampa Bay with the victory. Dallas taking on DC Power. Trinity. Chioma Ubagagu. Oh my, what a strike there. A 1-0 win for Dallas Trinity. Meanwhile, Spokane Zephyr hosting Brooklyn FC second half. Mackenzie Weinert, right place at the right time, puts it away. A 1-0 Spokane victory at home. And let's go to Lexington, where Dallas Trinity visiting Lexington SC. Already a 1-0 lead for Dallas. Allie Thornton setting up Sierra Hinson for the goal to make it 2-0. Dallas would go on to a 3-0 victory. This was the one that would put it away. Chioma Ubagagu serving it into Gracie Bryan for the goal. Dallas looking good on the season. Take a look at the standings now in the USL Super League. And remember, the top 4 teams will make it to the postseason. Dallas on top, Carolina right behind, with Brooklyn and Fort Lauderdale in playoff position right now. But Tampa Bay closing the gap a bit on their Florida rivals. Just 2 points behind with, depending on which club you are, 6, 7, 8 games remaining in the season. And we welcome in Becky Burleigh now. Let's first talk about the U.S. women's national team. What did Emma Hayes learn in the 2 games this week? One of the highlights certainly to see the U.S. taking on Brazil.
Well, she definitely got to see a lot of people against a high-quality opponent, and an opponent that has such a different style than the U.S. that you have to adapt. Like, the physicality of both of those games was very high. And some people are going to thrive in that environment. Some people are going to struggle in that environment. So I think she learned a lot about how they can deal with that better moving forward.
One of the highlights for local soccer fans was the first cap for Avery Patterson. The former Bulls product came on late on Saturday. Then she started the game on Tuesday. What a moment for Avery.
I think what Emma says and what we all see about Avery is she is the future. She's like the modern soccer player. Right. And the reason I say that is because she can problem solve. She's athletic enough to manage the most athletic players in the world. And she's just one of those players who is going to put it all on the line. Like, I love her enthusiasm, and her excitement about being kind of a newbie in this environment. And there's something to be said for that energy. And you will only grow in confidence the more you play in this environment. But I do think she's one of the future stars of this group.
All right, let's turn our attention now to the USL Super League. With most teams having 6 or 7 games remaining, we're seeing a bit of separation in the standings. The team at the bottom of the table, though, DC Power, they haven't won since before Thanksgiving. Becky, this has to be a tough time to be where they are.
I mean, for sure, when you're at the bottom of the table with no real chance at playoffs. But the opportunity in that is when those outcomes aren't dangling right in front of you. It's a great chance to get rooted in your culture and your environment. And they have had a coaching change. So there is the idea of somewhat of a fresh start in that space. But I think the biggest thing for me is you're not going to be distracted by making decisions based on the outcome. You can be fully immersed in your process, and hopefully that's where they go.
Well, if you sign up for season tickets right now for the USL Super League season, you'll receive a limited edition inaugural season scarf. Be a part of the first pro women's team in Jacksonville history. Call 904-863-KICK or go to sportingjax.com or use that QR code on your screen for more information. Still to come, our youth soccer spotlight. We hear from one of the state players of the year. She starred here on the First Coast. That's next as the Sporting JAX report rolls on. In the coming months, Sporting JAX will be unveiling the inaugural kit. Maybe sooner than that. You can already get official Sporting JAX merchandise, from shirts and hats to sweatshirts and scarves. Head to sportingjax.com/shop or use that QR code on your screen to get your official club gear today. Time now for the Youth Soccer Spotlight presented by the Bearded Pig Barbecue. And this week we're hearing from one of 2 local girls soccer players who won Player of the Year in the state of Florida. Episcopal goalkeeper Ava Galani won the honor in the 2A classification. Galani helped lead Episcopal to its best season ever, making it all the way to the state finals for the first time in school history. Along the way, Galani recorded 12 clean sheets, even scored a goal. She was named the Florida Dairy Farmers Two-Way Player of the Year, but it's the memories made on the field that will stay with her the longest.
You know, like having 11 seniors on the team, like we've all been there from the beginning. It's really like a sisterhood. So the memories are amazing. Like winning the Providence District Championship, that was amazing. Final Four run, that was awesome. Beating Ransom Everglades in the Final Four was the coolest thing ever. It was definitely one of the top moments of my soccer career so far. We were all so excited. We had nothing to lose at that point. It was really just leave it all out on the field, and that was definitely one of the best memories, was catching the ball and just seeing the clock count down from like 10 seconds, and I had the ball in my hand, and it just ended like that, and we all rushed out. It was amazing. You know, you always have that goal of making it to the state championship, but at the beginning of the season, I'm not really sure I would have dreamed that we have gone that far, but as it started getting closer and we started moving our way up in rankings and in the games, that dream started becoming a bit more of a reality. The confidence started going up within the team. Like, we all knew that we could actually do it. It was pretty cool.
At what point did you... Ava has committed to play in college at Memphis. She'll leave some big shoes to fill at Episcopal. This week, we debuted a new show on 1010XL, The Coaches Show, presented by Sporting JAX. Features head coach Stacey Balaam, as well as head of soccer Mark Warburton. We talk about Sporting JAX, the USL, and the wider soccer world, Tuesdays at 6 on 1010 AM and 1010XL.com. And this past week, we also launched a new radio partner. The Sporting JAX Soccer Hour moves to 9:30 Fox Sports Radio Jacksonville every Thursday night at 6. Mauricio Ruiz, Becky Burleigh, and I talk about the beautiful game Thursdays at 6 on 9:30 Fox Sports Radio Jacksonville. Still to come, a look ahead to today's Premier League matchup. That's next as the Sporting JAX report rolls on. You can watch the Sporting JAX report every Saturday at noon on NBC 12. Most weeks that's immediately before Premier League coverage on NBC. You can also find us on demand on First Coast News Plus and the Sporting JAX YouTube channel. Coming up after we're done, it's Arsenal hosting Brentford. Arsenal hanging in second in the Premier League. Brentford right now mid-table. Mauricio, which of these two teams needs this game more?
Yeah, I mean, probably more at stake for Arsenal. I mean, they really missed an opportunity with Fulham dropping full points this past weekend and Arsenal not being able to capture all of their points, only kind of getting the draw to close that. Arsenal and Liverpool will still go head-to-head. So, that was a really big opportunity for Arsenal. The season is not done yet. Arsenal still, obviously, they're in Champions League as well, and they can climb a little bit closer. I'd say for Brentford, it's important for them to finish top 10. I think they're a club that pride themselves in doing a lot with a little, and for them to finish top 10 will be a huge point of pride for everything that they've built. They don't have any expectations to be a Champions League club necessarily, but finishing top 10 ahead of some really big clubs like Man United and Tottenham, I think it'll be a huge point of pride. So this game has a lot at stake for them as well.
And let's also remember that one of the things that happened this past week was that the Champions League announced there would be 5 spots for the Premier League for next year's Champions League as they've expanded the field. A little more opportunity for teams to make it into the Champions League, 5 instead of 4. So right now you have a lot of those teams that are sitting in mid-table, maybe 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, something in there, that now suddenly think, hey, we've got a chance not just to get into somewhere into Europe, but maybe even a Champions League if they can get up to 5th. A team like Crystal Palace that's really coming on suddenly now thinks that they have a real chance to play in Europe. We'll see how some of these teams develop with that thinking along the rest of the way. The thought was, for the most part, they probably get that 5th team in, but now that they have, wow, all bets are off. You've got some teams that are going to try to make something of this season that so far have maybe struggled or underachieved, or maybe are overachieving to the point where they think, hey, we can jump up and get that spot in the Champions League. Thanks so much for joining us. You can always check us out on social media at Sporting_JAX and other places. Thanks so much for joining us right here on the Sporting JAX Report. Have a great night, everybody.